adventure series by Enid Blyton. The Ship of Adventure.
Mother's got something up her sleeve,
said Philip Mannering.
I know she has. She's gone all mysterious. Yes,
said his sister Dinah.
And whenever I ask what we're going to do these holes, she just says wait and see, as if we were about 10 years old. Where's Jack?
Said Philip.
We'll see if he knows what's up with Mother. He's gone out with Lucy Ann,
said Dinah.
Ah, I can hear old Kiki screeching. They're coming.
Jack and Lucy Ann Trent came in together, looking very much alike with their red hair, green eyes, and dozens of freckles. Kiki the parrot sat on Jack's shoulder. But Jack hadn't a clue what Mrs Mannering was up to.
Well, Aunt Alison does act rather as if she's got something up her sleeve,
said Lucy Ann, considering the matter.
Rather like she does before somebody's birthday. I think she's got a plan for the summer holidays.
Just then Mrs Mannering came in, with a booklet in her hand. She smiled round at the four children, and Kiki put up her crest in delighted welcome.
Wipe your feet and shut the door,
said the parrot in a friendly tone. Lucy Ann's guess was right.
I'm taking you all for a cruise on a big ship,
said Mrs Mannering, and she smiled.
I know you'll like that. It's tremendous fun. We shall call at all sorts of places and see all kinds of strange and exciting things. And I shall have you under my eye in one place all the time. The ship will be our home for some time, and if we get off at various ports, we shall all go in a party together. There won't be a chance of any strange adventure.
The four children looked at one another in amazement. Kiki watched them. Philip spoke first.
It sounds ever so exciting, Mother. It really does. We've never been on a really big ship before. Aunt Allie, it's a wizard plan of yours,
said Lucy Ann.
When do we go? Next week,
said Mrs Mannering.
That will give us plenty of time to get our things ready and packed. It will be very warm on the cruise, so we must get plenty of thin clothes to wear. White's the best thing. It doesn't hold the heat so much. And you must all have sun hats the whole time, so don't begin to moan about wearing hats. Isn't Bill coming?
Asked Philip. Bill Cunningham was Mrs Mannering's special friend, and he always managed to join in the children's adventures.
No,
said his mother firmly.
I feel rather mean about it because he's just finished the job he's on and he wants a holiday, but this time he's not coming with us. I want a nice peaceful holiday with no adventures at all. Poor Bill, said
Lucy Ann.
Still, I dare say he'll be glad to have a holiday without us for a change. I say, it's going to be fun, isn't it? Fun,
said Kiki, joining in and letting off a screech of excitement.
Fun, fun, fun!
It certainly was fun getting everything ready, buying flimsy clothes and enormous hats, masses of films for the cameras, guidebooks and maps. It was to be quite a long cruise to the Aegean Islands. What a wonderful trip! At last everything was ready. The trunks were packed and strapped, the tickets had arrived, passports had been got, and everyone had screamed in dismay to see how hideous they looked in their passport photographs. Kiki screamed too, just for company. She loved screeching and screaming, but she wasn't encouraged in this, so it was a fine change to scream when everyone was doing the same. Then all five went off in Mrs Mannering's car to Southampton, followed by another with the baggage. They were in a great state of excitement. Once they were all on the boat, Mrs Mannering found their cabins. There were 3 in a row, a single one for her and 2 double ones for the others. Lucy Ann was delighted with them.
Why, they are just like proper little rooms,
she said.
Jack, is your cabin like ours? Look, we've even got hot and cold water taps. We've got an electric fan going in our cabin,
said Philip, appearing at the door.
It's wizard, lovely and cool. You've got one too. The water is only just below our porthole,
said Dinah, looking out.
If the sea got at all rough, it would slop into the hole. It would be well and truly screwed up before that happened,
said Philip.
I'm glad we're at the waterline. It will be cooler in this warm weather. I say, isn't this super? I'm longing to sail off.
They all went to see Mrs Mannering's cabin, which was the same as theirs but smaller. Then they went to explore the ship. She was quite big, but not tremendous, and was white from top to bottom. White funnels, white rails, white sides. Her name was on each of the white lifeboats slung at the sides of the deck. Viking Star. They went round the ship thrilled with everything. There was the sports deck, where someone was already playing quoits with thick rings of rope, and 2 others were playing deck tennis.
Fancy being able to play games like this on board ship,
said Dinah.
There's a cinema down below,
said Mrs Mannering.
And a writing room, and library and lounge, and an enormous restaurant. And gosh, look! Here's a swimming pool on the ship itself!
Cried Jack in amazement as they came to a beautiful pool at one end of the ship, shimmering blue with water. The ship's siren suddenly hooted twice, very loudly. Lucy Ann almost fell into the swimming pool with surprise. Mrs Mannering laughed.
Oh, Lucy Ann! Did it make you jump? It made me jump too. What a terrific noise, said
Lucy Ann. The engines of the ship had now started up, and the children felt a vibration under their feet. They were on their way. The children soon felt that the Viking Star was their home, a floating home containing everything they wanted except the open countryside. They got to know every nook and cranny on the ship. They explored the engine room under the eye of Mac, the chief engineer, and they were even allowed up on the bridge by the first officer, a very great honour. Mrs Mannering made friends on the ship with 2 or 3 people she liked. There were only a few children on board besides Jack and the others, and most were much younger and so spoilt that nobody wanted to have much to do with them. But the children did make a sort of friend of one boy, called Lucian Eppie. He was a tall, gangling boy. His mouth was exactly like a rabbit's. The front teeth stuck out, and his chin sloped backwards. He was about as old as Jack and Philip. He wore large, round glasses that magnified his eyes and made them look rather staring. But he had a very amiable grin on his face, and the children let him hang around with them, which he was eager to do. He told them all about himself immediately. He had no father or mother. His father had been English, but his mother was Greek, so he had plenty of Greek relations. He went to school in England, but spent most of his holidays with his relations. He was 14, nearly 15. He didn't like games, but he loved history. He was with his Greek uncle and aunt on board the ship. The Viking Star was now cruising among the islands of the Aegean Sea. The water was a beautiful dark blue, and the children thought it was the nicest part of the trip, seeing the islands loom up out of the purple-blue sea. Lucian proved himself quite useful here, because he knew that part of the sea very well. He was able to tell them about the different islands, and he was full of exciting stories of old pirates and robberies at sea, and the taking of treasure.
"Tell us some tales about these old islands," said
Jack.
"I wouldn't mind visiting 1 or 2. "Well, I dare say we could if I asked my uncle,"
said Lucian, surprisingly.
"What do you mean? What's your uncle got to do with it?"
demanded Philip.
"You talk as if he owned the islands." "He does own quite a few,"
said Lucian.
"Didn't I tell you? It's a craze of his, I think. He buys this one and that one, explores it thoroughly, and then maybe gets tired of it and sells it again."
The 4 children looked at Lucian to see if he was telling the truth. It seemed extraordinary to them that anyone should buy and sell islands as if they were cakes or something.
"Do you know any stories about the islands?"
asked Lucian.
"Well, there's the story of the Andra treasure ships,"
said Lucian.
"That's supposed to be absolutely true. I've heard my uncle tell it many a time. It happened hundreds of years ago. I can't remember the exact date. There was a king called Panlostes who had a kingdom on one of these islands, a large one. I expect you know that most of them had rulers of their own. Well, Panlostes had a son, and this son had an accident when he was small, and he lost one eye and hurt his foot so that he limped. He wanted to marry the daughter of a king on the mainland of Greece, a girl called Andra. But she wouldn't have him because he was one-eyed and limped, I suppose,"
said Jack.
"and there was someone else she liked and wanted to marry." "Well, if you know the story—"
began Lucian, half annoyed.
"I don't, but I know lots like it,"
said Jack.
"Go on." "Andra's father said the girl should marry the one-eyed prince, if King Panlostes would send him gold and arms and treasure, worth half his kingdom. So the king got ready a fleet of ships and stuffed them with riches of all kinds, and one morning they set sail from the island to go to the mainland.
Lucy Ann gazed out over the dark blue sea, imagining the fleet of small ships, their sails filled with the wind, their holds packed with rich treasure. She heard the sharp commands, the creaking of the old wooden ships, the billowing, flapping noise of the sails. Lucian took another breath and continued.
Well, the girl Andra sent word to the man she really wanted to marry to tell him about the ships, and he got ready some ships himself and set out to intercept the treasure fleet. Did he find them?
Asked Lucy Ann.
Yes, he did. But when he attacked them and finally defeated the fleet, he found no treasure. Gracious! Where had it gone?
Asked Dinah.
Had they dumped it into the sea or something? No! The captain of the fleet had never meant to deliver the treasure safely. He had made up his mind to take it to an island he knew of, land it there, hide it safely, and come back for it when he could. He meant to tell both kings that he had been attacked and robbed on the way to the mainland. And he was attacked, but he had hidden the treasure,
said Jack.
What happened next? The captain was killed, and so were half the men. The rest of them made off in their ships and scattered far and wide. Search was made for the hidden treasure, but it couldn't be found. Golly! Was nothing more ever heard of it?
Said Philip.
Oh, yes. Some of the men thought they remembered where the island was, where they had landed the treasure one night. They made up an expedition secretly and went to look for it. They quarrelled and fought, and in the end only 2 or 3 men were left. One of them had made a rough map. A map of the island? Was it ever found?
Asked Dinah in excitement.
Yes, years later. A Greek merchantman got hold of it somehow, and pored over the old map till he had made some sense out of it. He made up his mind that it could refer to only 5 out of all the islands in the Aegean Sea, and there are heaps and heaps, you know. So he began to explore them one by one. Did he find the right one?
Asked Lucy Ann, her eyes shining.
This is a lovely story, I think. Yes, the old story says he did find the island, and found out where the treasure was too. But before he could do anything about it, he died.
There was a disappointed silence.
But who got the treasure then?
Asked Jack.
Nobody. The old merchantman never told a soul. But it said that somewhere there's a copy of the map and the plan he made. Goodness knows where. He hid it before he died, or so people say. He lived about 100 years ago. What a thrilling story,
said Dinah.
I wish we could find the map. Where did the old man live? Surely the map would be hidden in the house he had. I should think it's been searched from top to bottom, said
Lucian.
I know the island he lived on. We shall come to it in a day's time. It's called Amulis. Oh, are we going to land on it?
Cried Lucy Ann.
I'd like to. Yes, we usually do call there,
said Lucian.
It's quite a big island with towns and villages, and some good shops that sell antiques and things. Visitors often go in parties from the ships and buy things. We'll go together,
said Dinah.
I want to buy some things. I haven't nearly enough. Come with us, Lucian. You'll be a really great help.
The Viking Star sailed into a small port on this island the next day. Lucian was quite at home on the island, which he had visited before with his uncle.
You keep with me. I can show you all the interesting things,
he said.
And I can talk to the people too and bargain for you, if you want to buy anything.
Lucian was certainly very, very useful. He pushed off the flock of little children who came crowding round begging for money, and sent out such a fierce stream of odd-sounding words that even Kiki was most impressed. He knew his way about, and was quite good at explaining things. Lucian took them to the shops. Some of them were small, secret shops, dark and full of strange goods. One shop, which was full of antiques to attract visitors, was quite big. The shop was fascinating to the 4 children. They had no idea which things were genuinely old and which were not. Lucian, with the knowledge he'd picked up from his uncle, pointed out a few really old things, but they were far too expensive to buy. Lucy Ann looked at her money and asked Lucian if there was anything at all she could afford to buy. He counted it up. It was Greek money, and Lucy Ann had no idea of its value.
I really want to buy something for Philip. It's his birthday soon. He wants a ship in a bottle,
said Lucy Ann.
I know it sounds a funny thing to ask for, but Philip says he's always wanted a ship in a bottle. Well, I don't think I've ever seen one here,
said Lucian.
It's not the kind of thing they sell. Wait a minute. I'll ask the man who's at the back of the shop. He'll know.
He made his way through the masses of curious goods and disappeared behind a screen, where he could be heard talking to someone. He appeared again a minute later.
He says he's got one, but the bottle's cracked and it's not in very good condition. There it is. Look,
said Lucian, and he pointed to a stone shelf at one end of the room. There was a broken pot on it, an old bone, and the bottle. Lucian haggled with the man for a few moments and agreed a price they could afford.
Oh, thank you, Lucian,
said Lucy Ann gratefully.
I'll get a bit of paper and wrap it up. I do hope Philip will like it. It's an exciting present, isn't it?
But it was going to be much, much more exciting than Lucy Ann imagined. The ship in the bottle was duly given to Philip 2 days later on his birthday. He was thrilled. Lucy Ann glowed with delight when she saw how pleased he was.
Happy Christmas,
said Kiki to Philip every now and again. She had been taught to say Happy Returns, but she kept mixing it with Happy Christmas, which she said every few minutes.
Thanks, old thing,
Philip said.
Happy New Year to you. Oh, don't muddle her any more,
said Dinah.
Let's go and show Mother the ship in the bottle.
They went up on deck and found Mrs Mannering. Her deck chair was next to Lucian's aunt's chair, which she found rather trying sometimes, as she didn't very much like the uncle.
Look, Mother, see what Lucy Ann's given me for my birthday, something I've always wanted,
said Philip. It was admired and then passed on to Lucian's aunt and uncle to see. Mr Eppie looked at it carefully. He seemed puzzled. "The ship is very old, really old," he said. "But the bottle is modern. The idea of a ship in a bottle is a comparatively recent one, of course, but the ship inside is far older, almost an antique. Very interesting."
It's got a name carved on it, very small,
said Lucy Ann.
I can't read it. Can you, Mr Eppie?
He peered at it and spelt it out. "Yes, A-N-D-R-A, Andra. Queer name for a ship. Never heard of one called that in Greek."
I've heard the name before,
said Lucy Ann, and she tried to remember.
Oh, yes. Wasn't it the name of the girl in that lovely treasure story of Lucian's? The girl who didn't want to marry a one-eyed man? Well, we often call our ships by the names of girls or women. Look at our big liners, Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. I don't see why a Greek ship shouldn't be called after a princess, too.
Mr Eppie wasn't listening. He wasn't at all interested in any of the children, not even in Lucian, his own nephew. He yawned and settled himself to sleep. Mrs Mannering nodded to the children to go. They took the ship in the bottle back to the cabin, this time to the boys' cabin. Philip decided to put it on the shelf opposite his bed where he could see it. He was very pleased with it indeed. It was quaint and strange and beautiful, and he'd always wanted it. Now he had it. The Viking Star cruised from island to island. Time did not seem to exist, and not one of the children had any idea of the days. It was all like a pleasant dream, where, fortunately, the food tasted very real and very nice. In fact, as Jack said, if the food had not tasted jolly real, he might honestly have thought that he was dreaming. But then something disastrous happened. Kiki decided that she would perch on top of the bottle. The bottle fell to the floor with a crash and broke in half. The little ship inside was shaken loose from its base and fell over on its side. Kiki was shocked by the noise of the bottle falling and breaking. She knew it was a bad thing to happen. She made a noise like a motor mower and then relapsed into silence. What would Philip say? 5 minutes later, the two boys came clattering into the cabin to wash and put on clean things for dinner. The first thing they saw was the broken bottle on the floor. Philip looked at it in horror.
Look! It's smashed! Kiki must have done it. My beautiful present,
groaned Philip, looking at the little carved ship.
Look! Isn't it a beauty, Jack? You can see it better now it's out of the bottle.
Jack looked at it and pulled at a tiny knob in one side.
"What's this?"
he said. To his great surprise, the knob came out, and he could look inside the ship.
"It's hollow inside,"
he said.
"and there's something there, Philip. Looks like paper or parchment. I say, what can it be?"
Philip suddenly felt excited.
"Parchment? Then it must be an old document. And why should it be hidden inside the ship? Only because it contains a secret. I say, this is super. Goodness knows what the document is."
Just then the girls came in. They were very excited when Philip told them what had happened. How the boys managed to wheedle the closely folded paper out of the inside of the wooden ship was a miracle. Little by little they edged it out until at last it was completely out and the inside of the ship was empty.
"There we are,"
said Jack triumphantly as he laid the yellow parchment carefully on the dressing table.
"Now to see what it is."
With gentle, careful fingers, Philip unfolded the parchment. It spread out into quite a big sheet. The children pored over it, thrilled.
"It's a map! A plan of some kind. I can't read the words. Blow, they must be in Greek. What is it? It looks like an island. See, this faint word here at the left-hand side, right at the top,"
said Lucy-Anne suddenly.
"Well, it looks exactly like the name on the ship, doesn't it? Let's compare them and see."
They looked at both the words, first on the ship and then on the map. They certainly were the same.
"Well, Mr. Eppie said the ship's name was Andra, and if the name on the map is the same, it must have something to do with an island or a person called Andra,"
said Dinah. There was a silence. Everyone was digesting this and wondering if they dared to say what they thought it meant. No, it wasn't possible. It simply wasn't possible. Lucy-Anne voiced their feelings first. She spoke in rather a breathless voice.
"Andra, the name of the girl who wouldn't marry the one-eyed prince. Do you suppose that one of the ships of treasure sent out and lost was called Andra in her honour? And do you suppose Andra was the name given to the search for the treasure? And that's why this ship and this map are marked Andra?" "It can't be,"
said Jack under his breath.
"Is it possible that we have hit on the old plan that was lost, the copy of the older plan made hundreds of years ago? And on this very map is shown where the treasure is still hidden,"
said Lucy-Anne.
"and we're the only people in the world that know the secret."
It certainly was a tremendous thought. Silence fell on the four children. They looked at one another. Lucy-Anne spoke again, timidly.
"Jack, Philip, this won't be another adventure, will it?"
Nobody answered her. They were all thinking about the strange map. Jack voiced their thoughts.
"The thing is, as Lucy-Anne says, we may be the only ones in the world that know this secret, but it's all Greek to us. We can't read a word on the map. We don't even know what the name of the island is that is marked here. Oh, it's maddening." "We shall have to find out,"
said Dinah.
"Oh, yes. Run round to various Greek people, Mr. Eppie, for instance, and say, 'Please will you decipher this strange document for us?' That's not a very bright idea, Dinah. Anyone who knows anything would see there was something worthwhile in this map, and it would disappear like a shot." "Oh, dear. Would it?"
said Lucy-Anne.
"Do let's be careful of it, then."
The children were so excited by this they could hardly get to sleep that night. Lucy-Anne lay thinking in her bed. She had the old familiar feeling of growing excitement and anticipation mixed with a little dread. She knew that feeling. It was the one she got when an adventure was beginning. She called softly to Dinah.
"Dinah, are you asleep? Listen, do you think we're beginning one of our adventures again? Do say we're not." "Well, if we are, whose fault will it be?"
came back Dinah's voice, very wide awake.
"Who bought that ship?" "I did,"
said Lucy-Anne.
"Yes. If we plunge headlong into an adventure this time, it'll be all because I bought the little ship. The ship of adventure."
Next morning, the children made their plans. The first task was to get the Greek words on the map translated.
"I say,"
said Dinah suddenly,
"you know, we could ask the little Greek woman who keeps the shop on the ship." I think we could trust her not to say a word,
said Lucy-Anne.
She's nice, and she likes us. If we told her it was a secret, wouldn't she keep it? After all, we've got to ask somebody.
They debated whether the shopwoman was trustable or not. They decided that, on the whole, she was. They went off together. The Greek woman looked at the map sharply with her bright black eyes.
It is a plan of some sort,
she said.
It shows an island called Thamis or Themis, I cannot tell which. See, here is its name in Greek. But you will not understand the letters, of course. Your alphabet is different. Yes, it is an island, but where it is, I do not know. Can't you tell anything else from the map?
Asked Dinah.
There is something of importance on the island,
said the woman.
Perhaps a temple or vaults. Oh, I do not know. There is a building marked here, or maybe it is meant to be a city.
The children had been so engrossed in all this that they had not heard the soft footsteps of someone coming. A shadow fell across them. They looked up, and Lucy-Anne gave a gasp. It was Mr. Eppie, his dark glasses hiding his eyes as usual. "Ah, something interesting. Let me see," said Mr. Eppie coolly, and before anyone could stop him, he'd twisted the parchment out of the Greek woman's fingers and was looking at it himself. Philip tried to twist it out of his fingers, but Mr. Eppie was on his guard. He held it aloft and pretended to joke. "He won't let Mr. Eppie see, bad boy."
"Bad, naughty boy,"
echoed Kiki at once, and thinking it was a game of snatch, she lunged out at the paper, then with the parchment in her beak, flew to the top of the shop and sat there, out of reach, screeching like a train. Mr. Eppie knew when he was beaten. "What a funny bird," he said, in an amiable voice that managed to sound quite angry too. Well, well, but I have seen enough. The Andra." And with that, he left the dumbfounded children, walking off rapidly back to his deck chair.
"Blow him,"
muttered Philip.
"Now he knows. That's an awful bit of bad luck."
They left the surprised little shopwoman and went moodily up to the bow of the ship, glad to feel the wind in their faces.
"If there is anything in our idea, Mr. Eppie has seen enough to cotton on to it already,"
said Jack gloomily.
"I can't say that we've been at all clever over this. Anything but. Simply given our secret away,"
said Dinah.
"We're losing our grip. Anyway, I don't really see what we could have done about the treasure,"
said Lucy-Anne suddenly.
"I mean, we can't possibly go hunting for it, even if we knew exactly where it was. So we might as well give it up, and if Mr. Eppie wants to go hunting after it, let him." "Well, I must say you're very generous, giving up what might have been our treasure and just saying Mr. Eppie can have it,"
said Jack, exasperated.
"All because you don't want an adventure again."
The children stopped talking at once when they saw the approach of Lucien. Up he came, grinning amiably.
"Hello,"
he cried.
"Where on earth have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere. I say, look what Uncle's given me."
He showed the children some pieces of Greek money.
"He's in a very good temper suddenly, and Aunt can't understand it."
The children could understand Mr. Eppie's sudden good spirits very well indeed. They grinned wryly at one another and felt very gloomy. What was the use of bothering? They would never be able to do much about the treasure. How could they? Mrs. Mannering would not hear of it, they knew. And there would have to be some grown-up in charge. If only Bill had come on the trip with them. Then Jack had an idea.
"I'm going off by myself for a little while,"
he announced.
"See you later."
Off he went with Kiki, thinking about his idea. What about looking up the island, Thamis or Themis, whichever it was, on a modern map and seeing if it was shown there? It would be interesting to see whereabouts it was. Why, it might be quite near where they were cruising. He went down to the ship's little library with Kiki and asked for a good map of the islands. The librarian gave him one and looked disapprovingly at Kiki. He did not like parrots in his quiet library.
"Blow your nose,"
Kiki advised him.
"Wipe your feet. How many times have I told you to shut the door? Boop, gop."
Jack pored over the map of the islands.
Wipe your feet.
For a long time he could not see Tharmis, and then there it was under his eyes. It was not a large island, and was marked with what seemed to be a city or town just on the coast. One or two small marks seemed to indicate villages, but there was only one town. So that was where the legendary fleet of treasure ships went years and years ago. They put in at that city by the sea, sailing into the port at dead of night. How did they unload the treasure? Were the people there in on the secret? Where was it put? It must have been hidden remarkably well if no one had ever found it in all those years. Jack pored over the map, his imagination giving him picture after picture and making him stirred and excited. He gave a deep sigh, which Kiki immediately echoed. If only he could go to Tharmis, to that city by the sea, if only he could just have a look at it. But it would be Mr. Eppie who would do that. Mr. Eppie, who knew all the islands by heart, and who could afford to hire ships to go from one to another, exploring each one as he pleased. Jack folded up the map with another sigh. He put the whole idea away from him once and for all. You couldn't go on treasure hunts unless you were grown up. His common sense told him that all the plans he and the others had made were just crazy dreams, lovely dreams, but quite impossible. Jack strolled out of the library and up on deck. They were heading for another island. They were to go close by it so that the passengers might see the romantic coastline, but they were not calling there. At least, so Jack had thought. As they came near, he saw that he must have been wrong. The ship was either going into the port there, or people were going off in a motorboat that had come out to meet the ship. The ship's engines stopped at that moment, and Jack leaned over the side to watch the motorboat nose its way near. It soon lay alongside the big ship, rising and falling gently on the waves. A ladder was shaken down the side of the Viking Star. Someone began to climb down. Someone who waved back to others on the ship and called out in a foreign language. And then Jack got a shock. The someone was Mr. Eppie. He was calling goodbye to his wife and nephew. He climbed right down to the motorboat and jumped deftly to the deck. His big suitcase was lowered on a rope and swung down on the deck beside him. He looked up and waved again, his dark glasses showing clearly. Jack scowled down angrily and miserably. Blow, Mr. Eppie, blow him! Jack felt sure he knew why he was leaving the boat. Mr. Eppie knew enough to set things in motion for the grand Andra treasure hunt. He was going to Tharmis. He would smell out the treasure that Jack and the others had happened on in that old map. It would be his. But then something happened which changed everything. Mrs. Mannering received a radio telegram. She read it out loud to the listening children.
Your aunt is seriously ill and calling for you. Fly back if you can, and I'll take over the kids. Radio me, please, Bill.
The girls helped her to pack. The Viking Star steamed to a large island where there was a good airport, and the children waved goodbye as the motorboat chuffed away to the port. A curious silence fell on the children. They were all thinking the same thing, but nobody quite liked to say it. Jack cleared his throat.
Now this has happened,
He stopped. Everyone waited politely.
Well, go on,
said Dinah.
I was just thinking,
said Jack.
Just thinking that now, well, with old Bill coming and all,
He stopped again. Dinah gave a giggle.
I'll say it for you,
she said.
It's what we've all been thinking, I know. Dear old Bill is coming, and we can tell him all about the map and the Andra treasure and Mr. Eppie. And maybe he'll do something about it.
The next day, Bill arrived. The children were thrilled to see him again. They were bursting to tell him about the treasure plan, but they felt they ought to let him talk first. He told them how he had met Mrs. Mannering at the airport in England and had seen her safely off to her aunt. Then he had taken his own private aeroplane and set off.
Alone?
Asked Jack. No, with a friend of mine, Tim Curling. I don't think you've met him, said Bill. I've left him with the plane." The children could wait no longer. Out came the story. "This is all rather extraordinary," said Bill thoughtfully. He listened intently, asking one or two curt questions now and again. When they'd finished, he took out his pipe and began to stuff it very slowly with tobacco. The children waited. They knew that Bill was thinking hard. Their hearts beat fast. What did Bill think of their tale? Would he take it seriously? Would he do something about it? "Well," said Bill, putting his pipe into his mouth and speaking out of one side whilst he hunted in his pocket for matches. "Well, I think you've got something there, but I'm basing my feelings on Mr. Eppie's behaviour, not on your map. And if there's anything in it, I suppose we'll have to see this island called Tharmis." Good old Bill. Next morning, a message was put up on the ship's notice board. "Owing to engine trouble, the Viking Star is putting into port for a day or two. Passengers may remain on board if they wish, or stay in a hotel provided by the company, or may use the motorboats which the said company will provide for the use of any passengers wishing to explore this romantic part of the Aegean Sea. Signed, L. Peterson, Captain." The same thought struck all four children at once. They turned to one another, their eyes shining.
"We couldn't we?"
said Lucy Ann, and the others understood at once. Jack nodded, his eyes bright. He slipped his arm through Bill's. Bill looked round at the children. He smiled broadly, and then laughed out loud to see the four eager faces looking at him, all with the same question in them. "Can we go to Tharmis after all? That's what you want to know, isn't it?" he said. "Well, I don't see why not. It looks as if we'll be here a few days, and if the company provide us with a motorboat, well, we'll agree to their kind proposal, and off we'll go in one."
Bill, how marvellous!"
cried everyone. With curious clanking and labouring, the Viking Star made her way slowly to the island with the airport. Motorboats came roaring out to meet her and find out what was wrong. In one of them was Bill's friend, Tim. He was soon on board, and Bill introduced him to the children. The children liked Tim. He was younger than Bill, had a mop of unruly curly hair which the wind did what it liked with, and eyes as green as Lucy Ann's. He had as many freckles as she and Jack had, and a most infectious laugh.
"Can Tim come too?"
asked Jack. "Well, we're going off to have a look at Tharmis," said Bill. "Like to come with us?" "Well, if you've made your own plans, sir, I won't come today," said Tim. "I've got a chappie here who wants a spot of flying. Can I take the plane up?" "Yes, of course," said Bill.
"And if you fly over Tharmis, wave to us,"
said Jack. "Right," said Tim with a grin. "I'll look it up and see where it is. Look out for us." Bill arranged for them to use one of the motorboats. The boatman's name was Andros. He started up the engine. The motorboat nosed out of the little harbour, leaving behind the great Viking Star, beautiful but silent. Soon they were out on the open sea, skimming along, bobbing up and down on the white horses that reared themselves every now and again.
"How far is Tharmis?"
asked Jack. Andros turned his curly head. 4 hours, 5 hours, he said. It was a lovely journey to Tharmis. The sea was choppy, and yet was full of glints and sparkles. The boat sped along like a live thing, the engine purring away. At 12 o'clock they all had a picnic lunch, and blessed the steward who had packed them so much food. The boat went on and on, occasionally passing other islands, one or two large ones, but most of them small. Finally Andros raised his hand and pointed to the east. "Tharmis," he said. "Mr. Sir, Tharmis." Everyone looked eagerly to where he pointed. They saw a small island, purple in the distance, rearing itself out of the waters as they sped nearer. Tharmis. Was it really Tharmis, the old island marked on the treasure map? The children fell silent as they neared the island. Their eyes were fixed on the city. It did not look right, somehow. Something was the matter with it. It looked, well, dead, Lucy Ann thought. Jack remembered his binoculars and put them to his eyes. He gave an exclamation.
Gosh! Would you believe it? What?
Said everyone at once impatiently.
It's all ruins,
said Jack, and he lowered the glasses and looked at the others.
It's a ruined city. I never thought of that.
Not knowing quite what to think, the children leapt off the boat onto a ledge. They climbed up some old worn steps and came into what must have been the main street of the ruined city. There were ruins everywhere. "Well, we'd better go and see if we can find the secret entrance to the vault or whatever it is shown on the map," said Bill. He pulled it out of his pocket and looked at it. The children looked too. "We shan't find it, so don't think it," said Bill, who was secretly of the opinion that there was nothing to be discovered on this poor dead island. Bill thought they'd better tell Andros that they would be gone a couple of hours. They made their way back to the creek, and then they got a terrible shock. The motorboat was gone. They stared as if they could not believe their eyes.
"Where's the boat?"
said Dinah feebly. They looked up the creek and down. No sign of the boat at all. How very extraordinary. And then Jack gave a cry and pointed out to sea.
"Isn't that it? Look, right out there."
They all strained their eyes, and Bill nodded his head grimly. "Yes, that looks like it. What on earth made Andros go off without us? What an astounding thing to do!" Lucy Ann was very much alarmed. She took Bill's arm.
"What are we going to do?"
she said.
"Are we to stay here, Bill?"
"Lucy Ann, of course we are,"
said Jack before Bill could answer.
"Where are we to go if we don't stay here? Have you got an aeroplane stowed away somewhere ready for this emergency?"
"Shut up, Jack," said Bill, putting his arm round Lucy Ann. "We shall be all right. Don't fret, Lucy Ann. It's only one of our adventures." They leaned against a great half-broken column to rest themselves while they decided what to do next. There was a large piece out of the column just above their heads, and Kiki flew up there to perch. But part of it was loose, so that she lost her balance on the ledge and fell backwards into the inside of the enormous column.
"All gone,"
she announced in a hollow voice.
"All gone. Ding-dong bell." "You idiot, Kiki!"
shouted Philip. Philip looked in cautiously.
"Hey, Bill!"
he called.
"Hand me your torch. I'd better look before I leap, I think. There's something odd here."
Bill handed him up his torch. Philip switched it on and looked down into the hollow of the great column. He turned and looked back at the others.
"I say, it's amazing. It looks as if there's steps at the bottom of this column."
Everyone was amazed. Steps? Stone steps leading downwards at the base of the hollow stone column. Jack gave a loud whoop.
"I bet they go to the vaults." "Bill, let's go down,"
said Philip.
"Come on, we're on the track of the treasure."
One by one the troop went into the hollow column and down the spiral staircase. They came to the end of the stairway. It finished in a vast cave that stretched out endlessly in the rock of the hill. Their torches only lit up a small part of it. They combed it and found a narrow passageway. They went down the low-roofed, winding passage for a little way, and then Jack called out to the others.
"I say, anyone got Kiki?"
They all stopped.
"I haven't,"
yelled back Lucy Ann.
"Nor has Dinah."
Bill said he certainly hadn't. Neither had Philip.
"Kiki! Kiki! Where are you?"
cried Jack. There was no squawk or screech in reply.
"Blow,"
said Jack.
"I'll have to go back and get her. I'll catch you up."
He ran back. The others went on. Jack had a torch and could easily catch them up. Jack went back to get Kiki. He found her perched on the spiral stone stairway that led up to the broken column. He called her.
"Kiki, what are you doing there? Why didn't you come with us, idiot? Now I've had to come all the way back for you."
Kiki was tired of being underground. She wanted to go up into the sunshine.
"Don't be so tiresome,"
said Jack, exasperated, and he went over to where Kiki sat. She flew up a few steps and cocked her head at Jack. He could see her plainly in the light of his torch, and he was cross. He reached the parrot, and she flew higher again. Finally she disappeared. Jack yelled up the stone steps angrily.
"You wait till I get you, you bad bird."
Jack climbed out of the column and spotted Kiki sitting in a large tree. Jack ran to the tree angrily, and then he stopped. Someone was coming up the hill. Someone quite familiar, astonishingly familiar. Someone with teeth that stuck out in front and with a chin that was hardly there at all.
Lucian,
said Jack, too much astonished to move. Lucian stopped and stared at Jack as if he really could not believe his eyes.
Hello,
said Jack feebly and grinned.
What in the world are you doing here? I only came today,
said Lucian.
My uncle's here, you see. Oh, goodness knows why. I don't know when he came exactly. Anyway, he got here and then sent for another motorboat to come here, bringing some men he wanted and some goods, and I thought I'd come along too. I suppose my uncle's going to get some antiques here or something.
Jack digested all this in silence. Aha, so Mr. Eppie was there too, was he? He was hot on the track after all. Jack thought quickly. What a pity he'd met Lucian. Now the boy would tell Mr. Eppie.
Jack, what are you doing here? You really must tell me,
said Lucian insistently.
It's too extraordinary. And Kiki too. Where are the others? Why should they be here?
Said Jack. He did not want to tell Lucian about them, or where they were, or how to get to them. That would never do. He thought hard, but he could not make any plan that seemed good, except that if he could get rid of Lucian, he would pop down the broken column, get down the spiral stairway to the vaults, and warn Bill. Bill would know what to do. How could he get rid of Lucian? Lucian wasn't likely to let him out of his sight at all, and blow, 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 there was Mr. Eppie coming up the hillside now with 3 other men. Mr. Eppie was too surprised to speak when he suddenly caught sight of Jack and Kiki. He stopped dead and stared. For one wild moment, Jack wondered if he should run for it, run from the surprised men and hide somewhere till he could manage to get back to Bill and warn him. But there was no time. At a word from Mr. Eppie, the 3 men with him ran up and stationed themselves behind Jack. Then Mr. Eppie came up and stood in front of him. "And what exactly are you doing here?" he said, in such a peculiar, menacing tone that Jack was astonished and scared. "Where are the others?"
We came to explore a bit,
said Jack at last.
That's all. Anyone can come and explore these islands. The Viking Star's engines broke down and the passengers were told they could hire motorboats and cruise among these islands.
"Why did you come to this one?" asked Mr. Eppie, still in a fierce voice. Lucian answered unexpectedly for him.
Oh, Uncle, I expect he came hunting for the treasure you told me about.
"Hold your tongue, idiot of a boy," said Mr. Eppie, almost spitting at poor Lucian. "And now you," he turned to Jack again. "How dare you come trespassing on my island?"
It isn't yours,
said Jack. "It is. I have just bought it," said Mr. Eppie. "Ah, you didn't know that. But you know why. Have you found the way at all?" he demanded.
What way?
said Jack innocently. "Ah, the way to the treasure chamber," spat Mr. Eppie.
But,
spat Kiki at once.
but...
"I'll wring that bird's neck," threatened Mr. Eppie. "Answer my question, boy."
No, we haven't found the way,
said Jack. He wondered if Bill and the others had managed to find the way by now, without him. But surely they would have waited for him. They must be wondering what in the wide world had happened to him. Jack hoped fervently that they would not all come climbing out of the broken column.
Once Mr. Eppie knows the way down the broken column, the treasure is as good as his,
thought Jack.
What a good thing Lucian didn't spot me getting out of it. I only hope the others don't make a sudden appearance. I'm sure they will soon.
But the others were deep underground. They came to a hole in the floor of this extraordinary place. Bill shone his torch down it. It was a shaft leading downwards, and there were footholds in the rock. "I'm going down," said Bill. "I've got a hunch this is the place." He disappeared down the shaft with his torch, and soon his voice came back, excited and loud. "This is it! This is the treasure chamber! The treasure's still here!" The 3 children almost fell down the shaft, they were in such a hurry. By the light of Bill's torch, they looked in wonder round the curious treasure chamber. It was perfectly round, as if it had been hollowed by machinery from the rock, though actually, of course, it had been done by hand. Thrown higgledy-piggledy into this enormous round cave, perhaps flung down the shaft in a hurry, were mouldering barrels and boxes and brass-bound chests. Bursting out of them was a perfect medley of strange and amazing goods. Chains of some kind of metal set with precious stones, brooches, armlets, anklets, combs for the hair, made probably of gold and set with tiny stones, beautiful vases of metal, perhaps gold, perhaps brass, but too tarnished to tell. Beautifully wrought daggers lay in one corner, and what looked like armour of some kind in another, all fallen from the moulded chests and boxes, or possibly burst out of these when they were thrown down the shaft so long, long ago. There were broken models of figures and articles that looked like drinking cups and bowls, and yet other things whose use the children simply could not guess. "Well, well, well," said Bill, as thrilled as the children. "What a treasure hoard! Andra's treasure! Maybe we shall never really know. But whether it is or not, it is certainly worth half a small kingdom because of its priceless age. It must be hundreds of years old, perfectly preserved down in this dry shaft. I should think only our museums can show things like this now."
Bill, it's super,
said Philip, his eyes shining in the lantern light as he picked up treasure after treasure, everything beautifully modelled and carved.
I wish Jack was here,
said Lucy-Anne.
He would have loved it so. Where can he be, Bill?
I should think he probably took a long time finding Kiki and decided he wouldn't risk coming after us by himself, said Bill. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go back and find him, and then we'll bring him here to have a look at the greatest treasure in the world. Bill and the children retraced their steps to the spiral staircase. As Bill's head poked up out of the column, Jack gave a yell.
"Look out, Bill! Danger! Look out!"
he began, but was silenced as Mr. Eppie placed a heavy and very rough hand over his mouth. Bill saw Mr. Eppie apparently holding down Jack, and he leapt off the broken edge of the hole in the column at once. Mr. Eppie gave an order, and Bill was pounced on by 3 men. He was down on the ground in no time, and one of the men was tying his wrists and ankles together. Bill was strong, but his strength was no use against the 3. Mr. Eppie had Jack by the wrists so that he could not go to Bill's help, and as soon as Philip ran to help, he was struck by one of the men and sent spinning. Lucy-Anne began to cry with fright. Lucian did nothing. He was trembling in a corner. Kiki swooped down and gave Mr. Eppie a nip on the ear, and he nearly let Jack go, the pain was so sharp. After Bill was tied up, the boys were tied too. "Don't touch the girls," threatened Bill. "If you do, you'll get more than you bargained for when we get out of here." It was no use. Dinah and Lucy-Anne were also tied. Dinah was angry and mutinous, and Lucy-Anne was very frightened. "And now," said Mr. Eppie, "now we go to find the Andra treasure. My treasure. You had only the plan. I have the island, and I shall soon own the treasure. Thank you for showing me the way down." He went inside the column, and the 3 men followed him. Lucian was beckoned over and made to go down just behind his uncle. He looked very frightened. "Well," said Bill, "of all the scoundrels, he must have sent Andros off with our boat. Can we possibly get free whilst they're down there? It's our only chance." Bill looked round to see if there was a sharp stone he could perhaps rub his ropes on. He saw one and rolled over to it. But as his hands were behind his back, he could not see very well what he was doing, and cut his fingers on the stone at first. But he kept at it, and gradually he felt the rope give way. Once his hands were free, he quickly untied his own feet and ran to the children and untied them as speedily as he could. They began to debate what they should do next. Then suddenly they heard a voice, and it was coming from the hollow column.
"Jack? Philip? Are you there?"
"Why, it's Lucian," said Bill in astonishment. "Well, he can't be alone." He leapt up to the broken edge of the hole in the column, switched on his torch and looked down. Lucian was standing below him, his terrified face looking up, dirt caked on his cheeks. He put up his hand as if he expected Bill to aim a blow down at him. "Lucian," said Bill, "what are you doing here? Where are the others?"
I don't know,
moaned poor Lucian.
They only took me down as far as that vault place at the bottom of these steps. They wouldn't let me go any further with them. They told me to stay there till they came back and not to stir. My uncle said he'd half kill me if he didn't find me waiting for them when they came back. I was frightened down there, so I came back to you.
Bill helped the boy out of the column, and the others gathered round. Now Lucian had appeared, Bill had a plan. "Now listen," he said in a low voice. "I must stay here and guard this entrance. If Mr. Eppie pokes his head out, I'll hit him with this stick. What you have to do is go with Lucian and find the boats belonging to Mr. Eppie."
There are 2 men with the boats,
said Lucian. This was disappointing news. Bill considered again. "Well, the thing to do first of all is to find the creek with the boats," said Bill. "Don't show yourselves, just find the creek so that we shall know the way. Then come back here."
What do we do after we've found the creek and the boats and come back to report?
asked Philip. "We send Lucian down with a message supposed to come from his uncle to tell the men to come along up here," said Bill. "And we pop down and go off in the boats."
But I say, you'll go on the rocks,
protested Lucian at once.
You can't come to these islands without a boatman who knows them. You'll be wrecked.
This was a problem to be faced. Bill considered again. "Well, we'll have to make up our minds about that when the time comes. In the meantime, off you go. Lucian, lead the way." Lucian, looking rather doubtful, went to the sloping city street. He set off down it, and turned off to the left halfway down.
You seem to know the way all right,
said Jack approvingly. Lucian looked at him uneasily.
I don't,
he said.
I'm absolutely no good at this kind of thing. I can never find my way anywhere. I've no sense of direction. Oh, I shall never find the boats.
Lucian was perfectly right. He did not know the way, and he could not find the boats. He was completely hopeless. He simply wandered here and there, making towards the sea, but arriving at a rocky beach where no boats could possibly lie.
You're a mutt,
said Jack in disgust.
Mutt,
said Kiki, pleased with the word.
Mutty, send for the doctor.
Nobody smiled even at this. They were all too disappointed and disgusted with poor Lucian.
I would remember if I could,
he said dismally.
But I do tell you this. Nobody can come or go from these islands in a boat without a seaman who knows the way. There are hundreds of rocks just below the surface of the sea, or even an experienced seaman finds it difficult. I know, because I've so often visited them with my uncle.
Jack looked at him.
Well, I believe you about that,
he said.
I shouldn't care to navigate a boat myself without a sailor who knew the way. Oh, gosh, we're really beaten now. No boats. And if we had them, we'd probably wreck ourselves. A very poor outlook indeed.
Lucy Ann immediately had a vision of themselves and Mr. Eppie and his friends remaining on Tharmis Island for years and years. She sighed.
I wish I'd never bought that ship in a bottle for Philip,
she said.
If I'd known it was going to bring us such an adventure, I'd have thrown it away.
They began to make their way back to Bill. As they went, Jack stopped and looked up at the sky.
What's that noise?
he said.
Sounds like an aeroplane.
They all stopped then and listened, looking for the plane. Soon it came in sight, a small speck coming in from the north.
Pity we can't make a signal of distress,
said Dinah.
Anyway, I'm going to wave my hanky.
She took out a small hanky and, much to the others' amusement, waved it wildly in the air. The little plane flew overhead and then made a wide circuit and flew back.
It's seen my hanky,
shrieked Dinah.
It's coming back.
The plane swooped down lower still, came round again, and then landed neatly as slowly as it could. Its wheels touched the ground, and for one awful moment it looked as if the rough ground was going to tip the plane over on its nose, but it righted itself and came to a stop. 2 men got out of the plane. They waved to the children and went to meet them. Lucy Ann's sharp eyes recognized them first.
It's Tim,
she squealed.
Tim, Bill's friend. And isn't that Andros the boatman with him?
She was right, it was Tim, and beside him was a rather shamefaced Andros. Tim hailed them. Hello, where's Bill? Are you all safe? Andros came to me with such a wild story, I had to come along and investigate.
Yes, Bill's all right,
cried Jack, and he pumped Tim's arm up and down in sheer delight at seeing him.
I say, it's good to see you. Did Andros really come and tell you about us?
He told me a most extraordinary tale, said Tim. He apparently chewed it over for a while and then decided he'd better tell someone. When he saw me down at the quayside trying to spot you all, he recognised me and came up. He said that he took you to Tharmis and dropped you there, and then someone came in a hurry and told him he'd no right to be there, and threatened him with prison, said Tim. Andros replied that he'd left a party there, a man and 4 children and a parrot, and this fellow raved at him and said it was his own island, and if Andros didn't clear out then and there, he'd have him arrested straight away.
That must have been Mr. Eppie,
said Jack. I do not understand all, Mr. Sir, said Andros. Bad man here, very bad. Andros, very sorry, Mr. Sir. Well, now you tell your tale, said Tim to Jack. So between them, the children poured out their story, and it was such an astonishing one that Tim listened open-mouthed. Good gracious, what a tale! He'd never heard anything like it in his life. He soon grasped everything. Come on, let's get back to Bill, he said. So off they all went, Kiki chattering merrily, knowing that the children were now feeling very much more cheerful.
Mr. Sir,
she said to Andros.
Mr. Sir, Mr.
They got back to the temple courtyard, and Bill stared in surprise to see Tim. Hello, he said. Well, so it was you I saw coming over the island. I couldn't see you come down from here, but I hoped you had. Bit of luck you meeting with the children. I suppose they've told you all the news. Yes, rather, grinned Tim. Pretty adventurous lot, aren't you? Any trouble with the chappies down the column? Just a biff or two a little while ago, said Bill. Not on Mr. Eppie's head, unfortunately, one of the other fellows, I fear. I haven't heard so much as a flick of an eyelid since. More plans were made. Tim, I want you to take the 2 girls off in the plane, said Bill. I don't want anyone exposed to danger here 1 moment longer than necessary. Andros, once we've got rid of the 2 men down in the boats, you are to take charge of the better boat of the 2 and go off with the rest of us.
What, Bill? Do you mean to say we're going to leave a boat for those scoundrels to escape in?
Cried Jack indignantly. No, I'm going to ask Andros if he will kindly remove some small thing from the engine of the other boat, so that it won't start up when the men want it to, said Bill with a laugh. I think it would be a very good thing to leave them here, prisoners, till we report them and find out whether Mr. Eppie has bought the island or not. Tim set off for the plane with the 2 girls, who hugged Bill before they went and begged him to keep himself safe. Andros, Lucian, Jack and Philip set off for the boats. It was decided that only Lucian should go right up to the boats and give the false message. He was to say that the men were wanted up in the temple courtyard and give them directions as to how to get there. As soon as Bill spotted them coming, he was to leave the broken column where he was on guard and go to the boats, keeping himself out of sight of the 2 men.
Then we'll be into one of the boats in a jiffy and off and away,
said Jack joyfully.
What a sell for Mr. Eppie!
Andros led the way. He knew the other creek well, though he did not consider it so good as the one he had landed in. When they got near to the boats, Lucian went on alone, whilst the others hid themselves behind bushes. Lucian was nervous, but tried not to show it. He went up to the boats and shouted loudly,
Ahoy there! Where are you?
The 2 men appeared. Lucian began to say something loudly in Greek, and the 2 men nodded. They leapt from the boat to the beach and made their way up the shore. Lucian was telling them where to go, pointing this way and that.
Well, I hope he's telling them correctly,
thought Jack, remembering how hopeless Lucian had been at trying to find the way to the boats.
Let's hope he's been more careful at marking the way this time.
The men soon disappeared. Andros raced to the boats. He chose the smaller one of the 2 as being the better. He went to the other boat and tinkered with the engine. He withdrew something from it and threw it onto the other boat, where it fell with a thud. He grinned at the boys. That boat's no good now, he said. Engine dead. We get in here quick. They all got in. Andros tinkered about with the engine there too. It started up quickly, and he stopped it at once. The boys wondered how old Bill was getting on. Had he spotted the 2 boatmen? Was he even now coming down to the boat, keeping himself unseen? They hoped so. Suddenly, they heard shouts, and they all sat up straight in their boat. What was that? Bill was tearing down to the shore at top speed. Behind him were the two men, also running at top speed. Andros acted quickly. He started up the engine at once and called to the boys to give a hand to Bill when he came. Red in the face and panting hard, Bill tore up to the boat. Willing hands dragged him in, and almost as he touched the deck of the boat, it was off and away, its engine making a terrific noise in the calm of the little creek. The two men leapt into the other boat at once, shouting angrily. Andros gave a malicious grin. Bill saw it and knew what it meant. The other boat was useless. No amount of trying would make the second boat start up. Its engine was dead. The two men realized that Andros must have tampered with it, and they stood up, shaking their fists and shouting unintelligibly. Jack and Philip enjoyed it all thoroughly, but poor Lucien was as white as a sheet. "Well, we're off," said Bill, getting his breath again. "Gosh, I had a narrow escape. I was watching for the men, but they came on me unawares. They must have guessed there was some trickery about, because they suddenly made a beeline for me and gave me a jolly hard run." Later in the evening, the motorboat arrived at the airport island. The first thing they saw was the Viking Star in the harbour, still lying silent. The second thing they saw was Tim on the quayside and the girls with him. "I've been to the police," said Tim, "told the chief you had something to report, and would he please not go home till he'd seen you. He's all hot and bothered. It isn't often anything happens here." Bill laughed. "Well, I expect the report will really have to go to the mainland to be dealt with. But as Andros comes from here, and Mr. Eppie hired his boats from here, and presumably saw lawyers here if he bought the island, it's best to see the chief of police of this island." The chief was a small man with an intelligent face and quick, darting eyes. He spoke English very well. He was very thrilled to think there might be some important news for him. He listened intently to Bill's remarkable story, asking a few questions now and again. The children added little bits. When the inspector heard of the treasure, he almost fell off his chair. "We must find out if this man Eppie did buy the island," he said. "I know him. He is always buying islands and selling them. I do not like him. He is crazy." A good deal of telephoning then went on, with a few interruptions from a rather bored Kiki.
"Hello. Hello. Mr. Sir. 1, 2, 3, pop."
At last the little man turned to Bill, his face beaming. "Paul Eppie did try to buy the island, but it is not for sale. It is not his. It belongs to our government."
"Good,"
said all the children together.
"What a sell for Mr. Eppie,"
said Dinah. "I hope he will not get away with any of that unique treasure," said the inspector. "He is not an honest man."
"He can't,"
said Jack with a grin.
"Andros tampered with the only motorboat there. He can't use it. He's a prisoner there, and so are all the rest of them."
"Good. I think that is very good," beamed the man. He turned to Bill. "If you will be kind enough to put in a report, sir, a detailed one, for me to forward to the mainland, I would be very much obliged. The children should read it and sign it, and Andros here should sign the part of it that refers to his doings in the matter." "Right," said Bill, and got up to go. "Well, that's that. I've had some thrilling adventures with these four, but this beats the lot. I only wish we could have had a bit of that treasure." "Sir, you shall," said the inspector earnestly. "I will see to it personally. My government will be very honored to allow you to choose from it what you want." There is another title in the Enid Blyton adventure series. It is called The Mountain of Adventure.